we've noticed that building a platform and building products online is very closely correlated to internet speed. So now I'm going to try and unpack some of the secret sauce of AutoTrader, which may be applicable to your businesses. But before we go there, I'd like to suggest two key tactics. And to understand these two key tactics, we have to first understand the journey of the internet. Did you know that 1 in 5 couples meet online today? But sadly, 1 in 5 get divorced as a result of social media. But it's testament to the fact that many things happen online, even perhaps meeting your significant other. And it happens on platforms with network effects. But more seriously, the next slide is what's referred to as the digital participation curve. And it's very simply put, the number of internet users in South Africa. And you can see the blue bars represent the number of internet users in South Africa. But what I've done is I've shifted the blue bars on 5 years to the green bars. And that's potentially more important than the blue bars. So while we have 38 million internet users in South Africa, so nobody can disagree with me. I hope you don't disagree with me. Maybe 15 years ago when I might have suggested this, people wouldn't have agreed. But we are online. There's no doubt that we're online. So let's park that. I'm not going to try and convince you of it. 38 million people in South Africa are on the internet. But there's a stark correlation with two things in terms of producing or building a platform and building network effects. And there's two things we've got to take into account. The one is experience, and that's what the green bars are. It's people with 5 years worth of experience on the internet. So if you can see that we're still growing users to the internet in South Africa, the number of people with 5 years experience is also rising, which means that we have to become better platforms. We have to give our users better experiences because they're becoming more experienced as time goes on. The other thing is that we've noticed that building a platform and building products online is very closely correlated to internet speed. I'm sure you will agree with me that internet speed is incredibly important to building products and services. While there are 38 million people online, getting to your platform and getting to use your service is important. So if there are 38 million people online, we have to ask ourselves, where are they? What are they doing? And how do we harness the benefit of those 38 million people? Well, I can tell you partly of where they are. They're on social media. We have 25 million users of social media in South Africa, and that's growing at a rate of about 14%. In fact, social media platforms are growing incredibly fast. If you ever thought that Facebook was dying, it's not. Facebook has 20-odd million users in South Africa. Now have a look to the right of the screen, and you'll see YouTube at 24 million users. Just 3 years ago, YouTube had 9 million users in South Africa. Take a moment to pause and digest that. A couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, YouTube had 9 million South African users. There's now 24 million users on YouTube. Now, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, there wasn't enough place on the screen to put them all. But the South African user, car buyer, consumer, are on these platforms. They're also on other platforms. Now, if you juxtapose that in terms of worldwide websites and how much time people spend on average on a website, it's 2 minutes and 17 seconds. So AutoTrader benefits from potentially more than 2 to 3 times the amount of time versus other websites. Now, believe it or not, Facebook trumps AutoTrader. Users are spending up to 30 minutes on a visit to Facebook. So that's where the consumer's attention is today. And we've all got to agree, and I've taken you on this journey just to focus your attention on the fact that the internet is here and everybody is on it. Where are they? They're on social media and they're on platforms, I suppose is the more important point. So where to from here? Where do we go from today? I'd like to propose 2 key tactics. And these 2 key tactics you can start implementing tomorrow. And the first is focusing on the bottom of the funnel. And the second is building a brand. Now, many car dealers in South Africa focus too much attention on the bottom of the funnel and not enough attention on building a brand. And we'll get into building a brand in a second, but let's focus on the bottom of the funnel for a second. If you think about the car shopping journey as a funnel, and remember it's not linear, so in this slide, there wasn't a way for me to depict it in a non-linear fashion. So consumers continually go back and forth within the car shopping journey, and we've seen that and we've researched it and we've proven it. Take my word for it. So if you think of the car shopping journey as a funnel, AutoTrader and Google AdWords probably operate close to the bottom of the funnel. AutoTrader is incredibly astute at finding the user that is in the market to buy a car today. We've learned how to do that over time. Google has also learned how to do that over time. So AutoTrader spends money on Google in order to try and get those users onto our platform as well. So it would be very beneficial for anybody in the market trying to sell a car to leverage these two platforms for immediate results. Remember, we spoke about platforms with network effects earlier on. AutoTrader is what's referred to as a two-sided marketplace. We target our user. We don't just target anybody and everybody. We are moving further up into the funnel. So you'll see we do car reviews, and we try and put research and reviews of cars and videos of cars out into the market for those out-of-market car shoppers. But by and large, 95% of our traffic and conversion is to the in-market car shopper. So all of us, you included, need to apply the right automotive digital retailing principles in communicating to the consumer on these platforms that are at the lower end of the funnel. But more importantly, because you could put an advert up on AutoTrader, and yes, there are nuances around the photographs and the description of the car and telling a story, and there's ways to get traction. And there are simple ways. But more importantly, I would encourage you to build a brand. Don't leave the bottom of the funnel alone because your current sales volume may dry up. But build a brand. Because the internet commoditizes everything to the lowest price over time. Margins get thinner and thinner and thinner. And in that world, the only businesses left standing are those that have a brand. So how do you do this? Well, you tell stories and you give the consumer value before you expect value back. You give value without expecting anything back. That's how you build a brand. Consumers today want to trust the brands that they interact with. So you can imagine if you built a brand that is all about trust and service, even if your price point of your car is slightly higher than the next dealer, the consumer will more than likely buy from you. And I'll tell you where the evidence of this is. The evidence is that brands are researched all the time. A study put out by Hootsuite suggests that 60% of consumers on social media are researching brands before they buy a car, are researching brands before they buy a phone, are researching brands before they buy a piece of clothing. So if you communicate in the context of the consumer on those platforms, and you build trust with the consumer, when 60% of them go and research you on social media, guess what they're going to find? They're going to find what your brand stands for. What if you're missing? What if you're not there? What if all you're doing online, outside of lower-end funnel platforms like AutoTrader or Google, is putting up retail ads? Consumers are going to view you as just somebody that wants to sell them something. Now, yes, we all want to sell consumers things all the time, but there's a time and a place for that. And when the consumer is going onto social media platforms to go and have a look at your brand, be giving them interesting information that builds trust. So moving on from that concept, there are 5 key trends that we are seeing in digital transformational companies around the world that I want to share with you. And those 5 key trends are: businesses are becoming more and more of a subscription service. Businesses want to be a platform business. We spoke about platforms earlier, and it's the reason I unpacked the platform strategy with you. Businesses are becoming far more social, and we'll explain what social means in a second. Businesses are becoming employee or customer-centric, and businesses are leveraging data and technology to their advantage. And I'm going to take you through a few examples. Everybody know who that business is. Apple. If you don't, just Google them. You'll be able to find them very quickly. But I'm pretty sure you've seen an Apple device. Now, is Apple a product business or is Apple a platform business? Apple used to be a product business. Apple is trying to become a platform business. Look at iTunes. Look at cloud storage. Look at Apple TV. They're all subscription elements of Apple's business. Is Apple social? I'll ask you one question. Do you know who the CEO of Apple is? The answer is yes. That's evidence that Apple is social. Apple's a little bit antiquated when it comes to social media and being social, but you still know who the key people are there. They put out their talks and the developer conference talks all the time, and people flock to watch them. Is Apple customer or employee-centric? I would imagine yes. Look at the devices they produce. Do they leverage data? I'm pretty sure I don't have to convince you that the answer to that is yes. They're one of the most privacy-driven companies on the planet. You have to use data to do that. Next business is Amazon. Now, Amazon makes quite a crappy tablet, if you ask me. But Amazon is not trying to be a product business. But they have to have a product in order to sell their subscription in books. So just because they produce a product doesn't mean that that's where their focus is. Today, more than 50% of Amazon's income or revenue is from their two-sided marketplace or their platform with network effects. But it's just taken 20 years to get there. So are they a platform? I would argue yes. Are they social? I'll ask you, do you know who the CEO of Amazon is? Are they employee or customer-centric? I would say yes. Look at the first book that was written around the early days of Amazon, and you will see that they employee and customer-centric. Do they leverage data? Absolutely. Are they a subscription business in the form of Amazon Web Services? Yes. Very few people know how many websites are on Amazon's platforms. So they're not a hardware business, but they do have hardware products. The next business couldn't have this list without having AutoTrader. Are we a subscription business? Yes. We charge per unit or per dealer per month to be on our platform, to have access to 10 million visits on our platform. Are we a platform business? I think I've described that to you. Are we social? Well, if you just go and Google AutoTrader South Africa, you'll be able to answer that question yourself, and the answer is yes. Are we employee or customer-centric? Right at the beginning, I told you that we believe that culture and leadership are the bedrock of the success of any business, and we've taken 10 years to build that. So the answer is yes. Do we leverage data and tech? Yes, we do. Just go and visit reports.autotrader.co.za, and you'll see the data that we put out into the market for free. And then finally, I said to you, wait right till the end. I'd like to introduce you to a business that is not only a product business, but is also a platform business. Now you might ask yourself the question, well, they produce cars. Yes, they do produce cars. Where's the platform? While they were producing the Roadster, Tesla was also designing and implementing a charging infrastructure that they own across the United States. So how's that a platform? Well, it connects the producers of power to the users of power, and those users of power are the very people that drive their cars. And that is part of their platform business. Is there a platform business in their cars? Yes, because with autonomous cars coming in the future and the way in which Tesla is building the future of their cars or their business, there is going to be a user or a potential customer inside that car. And the other side of that platform, with the Internet of Things, is going to be all of our businesses that want to sell something to that user. So the car is actually a platform as much as it is a car. So are they social? Yes. Do you know the CEO of Tesla is? If you don't, I'm worried. Are they customer or employee-centric? Yes, they are. And just on that note, it is very, 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 very difficult to work for businesses like these because the results expectation is incredibly high. But when you produce those results, it's an incredibly good place to work. Do they leverage data and tech? I would argue yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to leave you with a couple of questions. First, are you keeping up? Yes or no? You can answer that in your own mind. I would hope that the answer is yes. But more importantly, what role are you going to play in shortening the digital transformation or innovation curve in your business. And I'd like to leave you with 3 things that you can do today when you walk out of the room that you're in. And the first is leverage existing platforms and build a brand. That's what you can do tomorrow. There are existing platforms on the planet. Use them to your business's advantage. Don't just think about 20 years' time or 10 years' time. Second is build a platform with network effects. Find the place that connects users. Your customers, creating networks between each other is an important way to build network effects. Don't hide your customers from each other. And take advantage of the shortening of this innovation curve. And if you can do those 3, I don't see why you can't be successful. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to follow me on social media, all you need to do is Google my name and you'll find me. And on any of those platforms. And that pun was intended. Thank you very much for your time.